Live from the halls of Mandos, this is Derailed Trains of Thought. Hi there, everyone. We're in kind of a...
I don't know if we're really supposed to be here, Nick.
I think of the main places we've been, this is one of those we should not have tickets into. Not yet.
We had tickets?
I thought it's a metaphor.
I thought the podcast just kind of willed us into a place.
The
and then we just
podcast
kind of appeared.
The
there.
podcast has slightly more power than the Mousecatool does. So.
Apparently.
I think I've just talked about my interest in the Mousecatool in other podcasts.
I think you did mention that in a previous one. But yeah, no, this place is...
it's quite nice.
It's not... it's beautifully decorated, but it's a little creepy.
It's a little solemn.
Very, very solemn. Very... there's kind of this over feeling of doom.
Yeah, we're out of our league in many ways. I don't think many humans end up here.
I wonder if this has something to do with our technical difficulties before we started.
I think it may be.
It could be someone had a hand in that. I don't know.
So, anyways, well,
maybe we would just better get on with this.
We'll get on with it. So, all right. So we'll start with Story School. All right, so it's nice and warm outside. It's the height of summer, and we thought it would be convenient to talk about death today. So,
yes, of course.
Yes, because we always go with the seasons like that. So,
all right, this is your idea, so I'm going to let you set it up.
Well, it's kind of a big subject, this death thing.
Well, sort of.
But anyways, two things happened, and I thought, well, we need a topic. Let's go with that. One was that Entertainment Weekly was talking about, why do all our favorite characters get killed off? I think they were largely talking about Game of Thrones, but...
Which we don't really know anything about.
We don't know anything about, but I know people die all the time.
Yes,
apparently. And if you like a person, he dies.
And the internet goes up in, like, weeping and gnashing of teeth anytime it happens. And yet they still seem to really, really love the show.
Yeah, so I don't know. Well, we're outside of that loop as well. And also then I started watching this anime called Sword Art Online, which, among other things, is one of those... People are stuck bodily in a MMO RPG.
In a virtual reality
world.
Yeah. Nick got me hooked on the show as well.
He's actually ahead of me now. But basically, they're always wondering, even when you die in the game, you die in real life, sort of deal.
Because apparently that has to happen in all virtual reality stories.
Yeah, exactly.
Or else it's not real enough.
But they have some nice episodes talking about, this kind of fear of dying. And
they do use it to a good effect, yeah.
So anyways, I thought, well, death is a subject. We tackled suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And bad guys, but we never really talked about, first off, how death is used dramatically, from an audience point of view, and then also as a writer, why do you just, hey, I'm going to go kill X?
Mm.
So I thought we kind of dance around that subject. I thought we'd start with the traditional sort of, the Obi-Wan sort of deal, where you have your mentor, your person you look up to, and then he dies, and that's important. That I feel like, at least traditionally, death in a story really mattered. It wasn't just like to create dramatic effect. It was a major turning point in fill in the blank's life.
Well, but yeah, particularly when it's a film that really follows the hero's journey. Yeah. I think Obi-Wan probably, Star Wars in general follows the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell, to a T in a lot of ways. Helped define the book, and it didn't define the book, but it was so heavily influenced by it, and everyone was so heavily influenced by Star Wars that they kind of go hand in hand now.
Yeah, and nowadays it played like, oh no, this guy's going to die because he's in charge and he's only here for 5 minutes, et cetera, et cetera.
He's the mentor. It's like it's his job too.
Or it's Peter Parker's uncle.
Yeah, Uncle Ben.
He has to die.
Yeah.
Otherwise he's not Spider-Man, apparently.
It's, in comics, the only people who stay dead are Uncle Ben and Bruce Wayne's parents.
Yeah. That's another, because many times, I guess, death is used at a start of a story to initiate the story.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's normally something unusual has to happen so that the story starts, and death is a very, it shakes up both comic book level sort of people, and then also, just your normal, more literary stories.
Sure.
That death is a reason for all the circumstances of your main character's change. And in that case, it's really not, not that it's not about the emotion, because it affects the main character deeply, but for the author, for the reader, you don't have a great attachment to these people, generally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
so it helps you become a little more invested in the person because they've lost someone very close to them too.
And it's not. I don't know how many people. Well, it's been so long. I don't know, but you know, how many people are like were deeply affected when Uncle Ben died, or even Obi-Wan. You know, maybe more so. But
he'd been around for half the movie.
Yeah,
but
being cryptic and stuff.
I guess there is something to that in the. I mean, because it is true to real life in a sense. Like in Jim Henson's biography, they mention how he had a brother. I don't remember if he was older or younger, but in any case, he died while Jim was in his early 20s, unexpectedly in an accident. And they say it had a profound effect on him, just in terms of him realizing that, you know, he has a limited time on Earth and he wanted to get as much done in as possible. As much done in as possible. They're not quite. We're all off the time.
We're all done in? What?
But you know what I mean. The idea of, you know, you only live once. And you can see how that affected, you know. You can see how that affected Jim throughout the rest of his life in just terms of always wanting to be active.
But as I think about this now, so, you know, in many ways that you can use as a, you know, mystery sometimes start with some guy died and
that launches the
story. And so it's now that does have emotional ramifications, but it's a plot point. I mean, largely. Mm-hmm. For the viewer reader doesn't care necessarily about the person who died. They care about the effects the person's death has on who's actually our favorite character or main character or protagonist or whoever. So I think that's one version. I guess I've never actually phrased it that well. I never thought about starting a story like that. Say, and so died, and what happened then? Because normally you think about death at the end of something.
Or during a battle.
Or during battle. Well, and then you have the deaths that are more, almost as much for the viewer. Mm-hmm. You know, that you're highly attached to this person, and it brings all the feels, as people say, when this person dies. And to pull that off well, you have to actually like the person.
Yes.
Because if you don't like the person, you know, you're like, yippee! Or at least like, oh, okay, who was that guy? You know, oh no, Panaka's dead. Who cares?
Well, I remember
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
I remember Lost did that in a particularly entertaining way. Like the beginning of the last season, I remember there was some character who like had maybe appeared once or twice earlier, but then like he started becoming really annoying and belligerent with the characters. And I remember distinctly thinking, man, this guy is really annoying. I hope he dies soon. And then a flaming arrow appeared in his chest. And it was very gratifying. So I wanted to thank the writers for that.
I will have to warn everyone listening that this will be a Lost-centric episode.
Possibly.
Well, not centric, but Lost use, and I think, maybe I'll just bring this here since you've opened up the Lost bag. That Lost use death in various ways. Mm-hmm. Sometimes Lost will use death in such a way as like, this character no longer has anything to do. Let's kill him. Yeah. Which is an author writer's choice saying, look, we're not doing any service to him keeping him alive. At least let's make his death mean something. You know, or actor wants to leave, you know, that happens too.
Right.
You know, Echo. Let's kill him and make him death mean something big and like and then Lost also has that second type of death, which I'm not.
Charlie would be the type of we're not doing anything else with the character, and to be honest, Charlie's whole arc of will he die or won't he did become much more interesting than what he had been doing in the show for a while. Well,
and Charlie was probably the single death that people cared most about.
Yeah, because people liked Charlie. There wasn't something inherently important on the island for him to do.
Well, then he could do something by doing the Penny's boat thing. I mean, so so that was probably the death that had the most lead up and fulfillment, and you know, people being angry at the TV and can't watch it again and that sort of thing. Right. So that played, and that one actually played at several levels because his death then really affected Hurley for the next season. I mean, so he had the change, he had the emotional impact for the audience and all that stuff. So that was probably the most complex one, you know. There's a lot of people that just die randomly and Lost, or, you know, Alana, I dropped my dynamite and bye-bye Jacob's helper.
Yeah.
And it brings me then to kind of I don't know what type we're on, 3 or 4th type of death that's more common now, especially in movies, and I don't know as much about books, but I don't read a lot of modern books, which is anyone can die in order to make things feel like things are dangerous.
We call this the Joss Whedon effect.
Yes, exactly. And I'm not completely convinced. I mean, I get the rationale behind, look, no one's safe. I can kill anyone off at any time. But I'm not sure.
It's not very satisfying from a narrative perspective.
No, and I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure it's all that nice from a writing creative perspective. I mean, I guess he's going to die, so you just kill him off it gets close to that. What I use Battlestar Galactica as my whipping board, but punching bag. But I do enjoy the show, but it gets close to that mentality of all that matters is drama, no matter how I get it. Mm-hmm. And Lost would flirt with that as well. I think you can play it right. It just feels like more and more stuff is going towards that. We're just going to kill people so that it feels dangerous. It's almost like it's the character equivalent of shaky cam. We will move the camera.
Them fighting words.
We will move the camera in order so that you feel like a lot of stuff is happening. And I'm not sure that's a completely fair analogy, but I think it could be how things work out.
Well, I think that probably reflects itself well in the movie Serenity. Now, I don't know a whole lot of Joss Whedonverse, the shows like Buffy and Angel and all that stuff. But, the movie Serenity, the spinoff of Firefly, if you haven't seen it, I'm going to give some massive spoilers here. But there's 2 character deaths in there. 2 characters had been from the show. Mm-hmm. And one, I think most people would recognize, okay, I see why you did that. He died defending an orphanage. It was an honorable death. It was to convey dangerousness of the situation. It was an understandable character death. Then you had Wash, who just kind of dies randomly after they had you thought they had safely crash landed on a planet. And I've heard some people give the whole reason of, well, then that shows it gets you very tense for the rest of the movie. Well, you know what? You're only going to watch the movie for the first time once. Is it really worth killing the character just for the tension of that bit? Or would it have been more satisfying to have brought in the tension in another way? There's some personal taste there, but I think there's an argument of why people felt dissatisfied with his death as opposed to Shepard's death.
And I think how you treat death maybe inherently teaches you or reflects, as a creator, reflects your own view of what story is. What I mean is, if you're the sort of person who wants to show that life is just nasty and things can happen at any time, and then I guess you just kill people off randomly. That's not tend to be how I want to use story. Like we've mentioned here before, story many times for us is more showing how things could be or should be or have some sort of. It's not strictly reflecting reality.
Right.
And I think sometimes my guess would be more older stuff has less death randomly and more when someone dies, it means something both for the situation, like it was honorable or noble or to sacrifice for some good. And also for how it affects people. And you get more meaningless death, probably the more modern you get. I could be completely wrong on that. Or maybe the more literary you get. Maybe that's the way to phrase it.
Well, let me play devil's advocate a little bit
here. Yes,
go
go for it.
So let's talk about, say, the red shirts. Red shirts are basically, the term comes from Star Trek. They're there in the background. They just die for the sake of the plot, and that's kind of necessary sometimes to see the background characters get killed off. Arguably, they have their own stories that you don't know about, just like the protagonists have theirs. What's the difference? The protagonists can be killed off at any time, is that an unfair treatment just because they get to be the main heroes?
Well, I mean, that's true. That is a choice that you decide, are we going to create tension by saying people die, but we know that Kirk isn't dying.
Yeah.
And I guess then the reason you kill off main characters is that you feel like you take away that safe zone that we as watchers or readers automatically read in because.
Right.
Well, like Stormtroopers. Stormtroopers drop like nothing. Right. You don't even think about it. Like, hey, I blew up a Death Star and killed like 10 billion people. Yay, I'm a hero.
Exactly.
But I think, again, it probably depends on the sort of story, right? I'm not saying, I think there's probably a place for the Stormtroopers where, look, we want good and evil. We don't want this ambiguous, like, oh no, Luke is the equivalent of an atomic bomb, and was it right to blow up the Death Star sort of stuff.
No, you don't want to get into all that. That's why the Stormtroopers are all faceless,
exactly.
Basically.
Now, I do think there probably is a way, because to bring Lost in, I was intrigued that originally they wanted to kill off Jack in the first episode to create that sense of
unexpectedness.
And very J.J. Abrams one, but I guess I'm not against. Part of that appeals to me in the sense that I do like this idea that it's nice to have a show where you don't pull punches, where you feel like, look, there is actual consequences to actual actions. But I think for me personally, I think there's at some point in the gamut in the continuum is a place where it becomes we just kill people so that randomly. Right. I mean, all people are random. I mean, that characters' lives mean not nothing, but the dictates of drama will determine whether any one person lives or dies. And I see where they're going with that, and I like it in many instances, but I'm not sure I like it always.
Yeah. And I think we've said this many a time, but I think it does depend on the sort of story that you set up. Going back to Sword Art Online, which you brought up, one thing that struck me in Sword Art Online, you have all these people who are gamers that are suddenly stuck in this life or death situation, which they had not expected to be before. So when one of them dies in the scenario, you kind of feel a little bit more than, say, just your average like trooper or soldier or something.
Yeah, because you feel like they weren't signing up for that.
Yeah, they weren't signed up for that. That was a person just like you or me. They're just a normal civilian. And I guess the Hunger Games kind of taps into this a little bit too, because every time a tribute that is, it feels a little bit more than just the red shirt dying, because it's not some random person. It's like that's a victim.
Yeah, and because red shirts, they signed up for this quest. You know, when you have, okay, all my soldiers are dying with me in some battle in, Middle Earth or Narnia or something. Like, yeah, I feel bad, but you're a soldier.
Right. And so I think the story sets up different circumstances for how much background character or how much even a protagonist's death or life has value in a sense.
Now, here's a question. I haven't thought through this. Do you think it kind of gut reaction sometimes that when a story has a character that's not doing anything to kill them? I mean, as opposed to give them some other ending? I mean, do we feel like a story's only ended now when the person dies, as opposed to like he goes off and gets married, or he goes and gets a job, or he goes and lives exiled on some sort of island, or is it just because most of the shows that do this are such intense shows you can't get away with that sort of ending?
Again, for me, it comes down to the whole dilemma with continuing stories, in a sense. Say the TV show Arrow. I mean, Arrow has some very intense situations and stuff, and that he'll have some resting points, but that he'll never be completely rested until the show ends or he gets killed or something like that. And then comic books have the same problem when like the character's life gets too good, then apparently like the only solution is to mess it up completely.
Like, yeah.
I mean, that's a whole problem with continuing stories.
Yeah.
But I think that's the idea that anytime a character has outlived its usefulness or outlived its certain purpose, that it's time to get rid of it, I think is a false notion. I understand why shows like Lost do it when you're juggling a lot of characters anyway, and you're trying to keep your stories kind of, more contained. But I think it's sort of a cheap way, instead of finding a new angle for the character to deal with or to explore or stuff like that. I'm not convinced that that's always a good move.
Another question. Do you think always, sometimes, most time, depends, you actually like a character or their actions or the book or whatever more because you feel like the main character might die? Like not knowing the Arrow's going to live. Does that somehow take away some drama from it?
Not for me. I don't know. Maybe it does for someone else.
I guess a show like Arrow's different though, because it's about the one character. An ensemble show, I guess, is about...
Ensemble show is trickier. Like you never know. I mean, like say on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you're pretty sure Coulson is safe because the whole show is based on him. But some of the other characters,
you could kill him. Yeah,
I could see it happening, and that would make it a little more intense. And like you don't know with this whole all the crazy shenanigans that happened in this toward the end of this season, with one of them going and turn out to be bad the whole time. Suddenly you realize, man, I don't know. You never know. Any of them could die, it seems like.
Because I was thinking, say 24. Jack Bauer's and all this horrible stuff. But you're not disappointed because, oh, wait, I know he's going to get tortured and not die. I mean, though, I guess first season, they were going to kill him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were going to try to get a new person for season 24 or something like that.
Oh, that'd be messed up.
Well, they decide, after 5 episodes or whatever, they like the character so well, they're like, we can't kill this guy.
I know. The first season is the only one I watched much of. I didn't even finish that one, but I watched some of the middle and then went and watched the last episode. I remember feeling kind of disappointed that his wife died at the end of it.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. It's been a while since I've seen that. And yeah, sometimes though they do mess because he doesn't die, but then horrible other things happen to him. You're just like
because he had spent the entire season trying to protect her and his daughter, and then she's dead. I'm like, well,
what is the end of season 3 or 4? That's about as far as it got, where he had cut off his partner's hand with an axe or something like that.
What?
It was just you just felt horrible at the end. You're just like, okay, so they saved whoever they were saving, like city, country, nation, whatever. But you're just like. I just feel horrible. That's why I couldn't keep going with the show. It was just kind of brutal sometimes. Mm-hmm. But so because I was thinking Wheel of Time, some people complain that no one ever actually dies in that show. Even when they die, they get resurrected. In some the bad guys come back, and that he never hardly kills anyone for good. And to me, I didn't care. No, I don't feel bad that I know that all my main cast of characters are gonna live. Well, they didn't all live through because. By the time you get to the last battle, you think, okay, some things are up for grabs. I guess it depends if your show based around tension, around what's going to happen next, that's one thing. But if your show based around character, I don't know. I think that might have something to do with it. But you really want to make sure that the using death, for me, has some sort of purpose. I guess the purpose can even just be to unsettle the audience. Mm-hmm.
On that note, let's shift just slightly, and then we'll wrap this up. We talked a lot about death as its effect on the audience, and we've talked a little bit about death, as it's affected, if a character's friend gets killed. What about characters wrestling with the concept of death themselves? I might die in this situation. That's also a very interesting thing for a story to tackle.
Yeah, and that's what I brought up in why I came up with this topic for Sword Art Online. It's not a main thing, but it kind of runs underneath the whole first number of episodes. This sort of sense of, okay, we're here and we have cool abilities, but we weren't most of them were not meant for this sort of life.
Yeah,
and most of them are like, why am I? What am I? I'm going to die. There's episode 3 called Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for odd reasons, but actually it makes sense when you watch it. But this girl's like, look, I was just part of this computer geek club, and we all joined up, and I'm not set for this. I know I'm going to die at some point. How do you deal with that? A story like this could get very heavy, but also just having that kind of underneath. Hunger Games, plays with that idea. There's just this idea of how do I fight for my life in a situation where I don't know if I'm going to make it. A lot of movies or TV shows have that scene when they're trapped under the rock and they're like, oh no, I'm going to die. And
and those sort of scenes are always really gutsy in a sense, because probably nowhere else in the story is the author's, or at the very least the character's, worldview that clearly laid out. And whenever you spell out a worldview, you're going to have people in your audience who will disagree with it, because a lot of different worldviews have different understandings of the afterlife. And you have to be able to do it in such a way that even if an audience viewer or reader doesn't agree with your presentation, they
empathize with the character somehow.
Yeah, they empathize. They understand.
Well, I don't know if it'll work, but this is one of the themes that comes in the Strin Fred book I'm writing right now, because everyone's sick and they're going to die. And they got this curse basically on them. And Timothy's character, not this Timothy, but the character in my book, he's by far the sickest and he's the closest to dying, and he's wrestling with this. And then other people react in different ways. Some people just like, yeah, let's eat, drink, and be merry and, enjoy ourselves because we got, who knows how much time, YOLO. And other people are like, not, more despairing. And so it's a topic worth using in drama. Partly it's very dramatic, and also because it's something everyone thinks about at some point.
Everyone has to deal with.
Yeah.
I'm going to just mention it briefly because someone like Brian Churchill will appreciate it. But Ingmar Bergman's masterpiece, widely considered masterpiece, The Seventh Seal, it's a movie that's all about this sort of thing. Because one of the main characters it's where the whole idea of playing chess with death comes from. Basically, death comes to visit him, and this guy keeps distracting him throughout the movie with this game of chess. And he goes along trying to make sure he gets something noble accomplished before he dies. And he has this band of people together that they're just kind of on a trek together. And I only vaguely remember this because I saw it a few years ago in film school, and I had to look up a summary on Wikipedia to remind me. But the whole thing is very much about this kind of wrestling with, we're all headed toward this certain situation because they are all on a trip, basically.
Okay.
And in the end they all die, but it's all this very symbolic and kind of exploration of what this means and what it means to live and all this kind of stuff. So art movies can do this very, very well.
Ikaru. Have you seen Ikaru?
I don't think
by,
so.
what's famous Japanese? Kurosawa?
Kurosawa, yeah.
This is normal government official who gets some sort of cancer. I don't remember what type. And he's like, what do I do with, I'm going to die. What do I do with my life? Mm-hmm. Brian Churchill also showed me that one.
Yeah.
Very, very good movie. Very interesting movie. And he tries to do something worthwhile finding life. He was just like some government drone who just stamped papers and stuff. And he suddenly comes out of his little tiny life.
I guess if you want a positive takeaway you can get from all this, explorations of death can help you live better. Yeah. Like thinking about how, short life is in a sense.
Stranger than fiction.
Stranger than fiction. I was also thinking too of Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh man, that's a sad show.
Yeah. No, it's a very sad movie about two kids dying of all things.
But it's one of those, what is it? The catharsis, the Greek idea of that you go and suffer through with this thing and come out cleansed, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go live my life now.
Yeah, exactly. I guess, and then the reverse of that, then I guess, is you have characters who are like immortal and can't die and long for it. And then you're like, well, maybe that's not so bad.
And it's interesting that anime in particular seems to, most anime I've seen touches on this idea of, the idea of death pervades a lot of anime, it seems like.
Yeah.
Full Metal, Cowboy Bebop, Evangelion.
Yeah.
I mean, that there's this real wrestling, and it seems to me in the Japanese soul, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
And they're anime wears its emotion on the sleeve much more than a lot of American TV.
Yeah.
So.
Very much. Well, yeah. Which is interesting. I don't know that the Japanese are really that more demonstrative than we are.
Well, anime is just so
expressive. It's an abstract form, so there's that degree of separation from reality that you can get away with a little bit more raw emotion.
Raw emotion, yeah. And you mine for the raw emotion too.
Yeah. Right.
So, and that's it. So, so yes. And then sometimes death just makes you horribly depressed if you watch anything by Arthur Miller.
Yes, Arthur Miller.
I'm telling you, you can learn a lot about worldviews from watching how different people talk about death.
Definitely. And so I think it's
definitely.
Wow. Okay. So yes, definitely a fertile ground for storytellers to dig up.
I think we should lay that one to rest. So.
Oh, you're killing me. All right. Now that we're dead in the water, let's move on. What's our next segment here, Nick?
All right, time for soundtrack. For our first soundtrack, I decided to pick something which has death in the title, but it's actually much more lighthearted than any of this. It is from Final Fantasy VII, remixed in the Genova theme, which is one of the great boss themes from Nobumatsu, who only writes great boss themes. And it is remixed by Anti-Sign, and it is called Death, Rebirth, Life, 1986. So my contacts are fuzzy. Look at 1986. Anyways, it's quite entertaining. It's very 80s, like hardcore 80s. So enjoy. Hi, and we're back. Hopefully you enjoyed that blast from the past, and we will now go to Project Update. All right, Tim, shall you start since you had a breakthrough finally?
I did have a breakthrough. I finished my first draft of my book.
Woohoo! New Wells Rising.
New Wells Rising is the name of it. So hopefully, I'm not sure how soon, maybe beginning of next month.
Maybe, yeah. I think
depends on how fast the revision process works.
I think the revision process. I read it, and I don't think it should take too long to revise it. I think it's pretty strongly put together to begin with.
That's good.
So we'll finally have a new story for Children of the Wells.
It's been a while. I think the first draft was due like several months ago.
Well, but it got done.
It got done. That's the important thing. I was able to do it while I was on vacation, actually, which is quite different. I've never done that much writing away, but it actually turned out to be very nice because I was kind of like out in the mountains alone and had enough time to actually like get started on it early and like earlier in the day as opposed to like later in the day. So I had more brain power, I guess. So that's exciting. Hopefully people will like it. Any of you who have been following Children of the Wells is about Jason Kaiser, the last of the throne of the royal family of Therion.
And it gives us a new kind of forward momentum for Jason.
Yes.
Which would be nice. Different tone.
And different tone, different kind of a new tone for the whole series.
Which is
to
nice,
an extent, yeah. And as well as revealing a very big major thing that we've had planned for basically since you first came up with the idea of the world.
Before we knew anything about the world, this was what we had planned.
Yeah, and we're now finally getting to it. So it was very exciting and honoring to get to set all that in motion. So be looking forward to that. Hopefully again, like you said, it will be out next month. And we're doing a different publishing mode than we have in the past, where we used to serialize. Although, we weren't going to serialize this one, were we?
I don't think so. Yeah, yours was kind of in the middle area, but yeah.
Yeah, we're going to start releasing our ebooks, our finished books, instead of like serializing a chapter a week or whatever.
Just all together.
All together now. But no, they're going to be released all in one nice big chunk. So that any of you who have iPods or Nooks or anything like that, you'll be able to download it just right away. And because we realized with our publishing way of working, it was just going to be easier. So yeah, Nick, Mando's halls are a bit noisier today than I would have expected.
Oh, I know. Mando's halls is, I don't know, enough to wake the dead.
Must have been some loose spirits going around.
I guess so. Yeah.
So anyway, how's Strin and Fred going?
Strin and Fred, well, in the last about 2 weeks, not much has happened, 2-3 weeks, because the week before my vacation, I did a lot of writing on various other reports and stuff I had to do for church and other things. And then I was on vacation, and I actually wrote like a page, but we were camping and zing zoos, and so in the evening, I'm going to read my giant Brandon Sanderson book.
Zing zoos?
Seeing zoos, sorry.
Oh, seeing zoos.
Yeah, I can't talk
Seeing
correct.
zoos.
Seeing zoos. This is like back in speech class back in 4th grade.
Zing zoos.
Zing zoos.
Okay.
Yeah, we went to the Louisville Zoo and the Columbus Zoo and the Toledo Zoo and the Cincinnati Zoo. Quite nice. And the kids really enjoyed it. And we camped each night.
So your Brandon Sanderson book, this is your big, huge one?
This is The Way of Kings. Yes, it's like 1,000 pages.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like 350. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Yeah, but it's big. And I don't always have the time to go and invest in you want to read a good chunk at one time because it's not like short chapters or anything.
Right.
I'll do an update on that later when I finally finish it.
I'm sure we'll hear more about it.
Yeah, I'm not completely sure what I feel about it yet, but I have a feeling it's going to be one of those that at the end kind of hammers you like 10 times. But Strin Fred, so I hadn't got a lot done. I was going pretty well on it, and then I was kind of stuck in I'm moving to what I think I'd said the last third, but maybe this is the last third. It's like turning point downhill in theory. I mean, it'll still be a lot of stuff happening, but no more setup really.
Cool.
But I couldn't figure out how to put certain things in, and plots I had earlier. I'm like, wait, is that going to work? And so on Father's Day, had a long, nice walk with me and my iPod, and I think it worked out chunks of it. Long walks with my iPod need to happen more often, and don't happen often enough. But it's still coming. And I think this week you'll start at a normal pace again. I don't know how long this section is going to be. This section will probably be... Okay, so part 1 of this book is like 60,000 words. Part 2 of this book will probably be longer. So we're talking probably like 70, 80,000. I don't know.
This is going to be a huge book.
It's going to be... I mean, as far as fantasy novels go, probably normal. I mean, in some ways. I think like the shortest Wheel of Time book's like 200,000 words or something like that. Or 250 or something ridiculous like that.
Every time I told my mom how far I'd gotten, she'd be like, I have no idea what that means.
Yeah. I only talk in words now because it doesn't make sense to talk about in pages. Because
the pages vary depending on what it gets printed on.
So people, people tell me, oh, I wrote 10 pages. I'm like, okay, double space, single space. Are you talking like, Arial, Garamond, 12 point, 15 point, It's like, when English teachers used to be like, yes, write 2 pages. You're like, everyone's like, courier, 14 point. And so they would say,
they have to get very specific.
Yeah, like, it has to be this Times New Roman, 12 point, double space, 1 inch margins, MLA format. But, so that's what's going on with me writing wise lately.
Oh, cool.
I'm trying to wish to write something outside of Straight and Fred. I'm like, no, keep writing.
Keep it going.
Keep it going. Once I get going again, I just got that. I got out of the rhythm, and I could get back in the rhythm.
Yeah, I'm pleased that you've been able to stay in the rhythm. What will happen after summer is the question.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm teaching yet or not. I would like to keep the rhythm going until I finish the whole book, obviously. But after the Fred section, I got to do the Strin section. So we'll see. This is going to be easily the longest thing I've ever written. And I don't think book 4 should not be as long, but it will still be substantial. And that should be the end, in theory. I don't think there's a 5th book in there. No. Originally when I planned, I probably mentioned this before. I planned in the 5 season. I watched in Babylon 5 back in the day. Oh, okay. I love this 5-act thing. You got your exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. I was going to do a 5-book series, just like Babylon 5 did his 5 season thing. But there was enough for a 5th book, so I cut it and squeezed it in book 4.
You're hardcore, man. It took me like 6 months to get 22,000 words written.
We'll see if mine are any good, but yeah, getting them written is one thing. Having them be good is another. All right, so we have one last section here, huh?
That's right.
What if? All right, so we were trying to figure out, hey, we'd like to do a what if, but we were like, what do we do? And I have some students / youth group people who tend to do this giant like death match thing, where you just throw out like 24 names of random characters from TV shows, books, real life, and then make brackets for them, and then just kind of talk through who would win each bracket and come out with a winner. So we thought we'd try a mini version of this.
It's the light version of death. The death match.
The death match. Light.
We'll just pretend that we all have Phoenix Downs to revive them afterwards.
Good. Yeah. So I guess the first thing is we'll get a couple of these matches going.
Yeah.
So we haven't talked to each other about who we'll pick out.
Now, are these one-on-one fights?
Yeah, these are one-on-one fights to begin with. And then winners go on to the next round.
Okay. How super powered versus not super powered do you want to go with this?
I say you just pick anyone from anywhere. We'll just go with it. We'll see what happens. Okay. No holds barred.
Okay. So are we picking ones? Do you want me to pick one and you pick one and have them go each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that. All
right. I will go with Jakar.
I was going to go
Babylon
with
5.
Howl from Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh, okay. That is a very random fight.
Okay, so what would happen here?
Well,
now is this pre-Revelation Jakar or after he becomes like a religious,
I was thinking after, because I kind of like just to give Jakar a bit more of an edge, because I feel like he would be a wiser fighter than Howl would be.
Well, that's the thing with Howl. Like, he's probably more powerful, but he's kind of sulky.
Yes.
So if you catch him at the right time, Jakar could just insult him. He'd just be like, well, I'm okay. Especially if Sophia and Calcifer aren't there to kind of like
push him on.
Yeah.
He'd be like, oh, I'm not pretty enough.
Where's all my black feathers? No, Now, if Jakar started war, he'd be all over that.
Yeah, no.
But why is Jakar?
I think Jakar would have a much better advantage than like war, like before his conversion.
Yeah, but I think pre-conversion, Hal would go all like, "Hey, I'm not going to have any of this war going on."
Yeah,
and and I'm talking Hal from the movie, not from the book. I've not read the book.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the book, so that sounds about right.
So we'll say Jakar edges over him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
So we'll save him for
another round.
Another round.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll pick first this time. After I come up with some guy.
Okay. Oh, I have a winner.
You have a winner. Okay.
Better pick someone strong.
Okay. Someone strong then.
Strong is a relative term, but you know what I mean.
We'll take the royal we here. Royal we made me think I'm going to take D'Artagnan.
D'Artagnan, okay. Now, see, this is actually I just realized mine is in sort of a moral quandary because I picked Vash the Stampede.
Oh, I don't think he can win this thing.
Yeah, you know that I think about it. Yeah, he's not gonna want to do a death match. He's totally against that sort of thing.
Well, even if it's just a fight to the near death. I mean, D'Artagnan's pretty honorable here. That would just be a love and peace.
You know, this might just be a draw.
This might be a draw. They're like, look, we got nothing.
Maybe they resign and they go have drinks together, or probably chase some women. Honestly,
no, you know what? They would probably really enjoy that together.
They probably would. Okay. Well, that match was a bust.
Well, they just left the fight and went to a bar somewhere.
All the gamblers are really disgusted at this, but they're like, love and a peace.
And fraternity and brotherhood. That's for D'Artagnan there. I don't know if that's the right era of France, but
yeah,
we'll go
all
with
for
that.
one for one. All that's pretty close.
Yeah, we'll go for that. All right, so that was a bust. Okay, I'm gonna have the shark from Jaws. So Jaws, I guess.
Okay. I'm gonna go with just first thing popped in my head, Scooby Doo.
Scooby Doo, all right.
I think
Zoinks.
I think Scooby's gonna become a Scooby snack.
Okay, that's done. Okay. It's okay. So we got Jakar and Jaws. Okay.
Okay. This is an interesting one because Jakar I think he's dealt with some like powerful forces of nature before,
and he could probably punch him in the face.
I think Jakar could take Jaws. Honestly,
you think so?
If a grizzled old guy and like a scientist and that other dude could take him out. I forget who else is on that boat. I think Jakar.
And Jakar might have a bigger boat.
There's a good chance he'd have a bigger.
Okay, so Jakar's are a grand chance. Okay, we got to set another side up here.
We need. Okay, so that's like.
Okay, Ice Cream Bunny.
Well, if we're going that track, I'm gonna throw in Torgo.
Oh man. Okay.
Ice Cream Bunny versus Torgo.
Okay, because Ice Cream Bunny has those mutilated hands, but he has that fire engine. Okay.
Oh yeah, I don't think Torgo could get away from that with those.
Torgo can't walk. I think the Ice Cream Bunny had. Okay, they're both kind of disturbing.
Yes. Yeah.
But Torgo can't move worth anything.
No. I don't think he could even swing his staff around very well.
And the Ice Cream Bunny even didn't have his fire truck. Could just go, I blot out the sun. That's Santa. But anyways, I think the Ice Cream Bunny wins this round.
No, I think you're right. I think it has to be Ice Cream Bunny.
I'm not sure I would ever use that phrase, the Ice Cream Bunny wins this round. But okay, I gotta think something way off. I might pick a
I better go first here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say I'm just going to first thing pops in my mind. I'm going to say Tom Sawyer.
Tom Sawyer, the Ice Cream Bunny. I see how you were going.
Well, actually, I hadn't made that connection. But
I will go Uncle Scrooge.
Oh.
That's
actually pretty tough. Tom Sawyer can be resourceful. But
so can Uncle Scrooge.
That's a tough one.
And they're probably just out in the wilderness somewhere.
Probably out in the wilderness somewhere.
Here's the thing, though. Uncle Scrooge could just buy off Tom Sawyer.
That's probably true. I think Uncle Scrooge is probably the wiser. Again, I'm going with with wisdom here because Tom Sawyer's got some wilds to him, but all Uncle Scrooge really has to tell him is like, "Hey, I'll pay you, and we can go on a great adventure together." And Tom Sawyer would be totally with him.
Yeah, he's done for.
So yeah, I think Uncle Scrooge wins this round.
Okay.
So
should we do one more round and put Scrooge against Ice Cream Bunny?
Well, we did 2 for the last round. So, let's go ahead and do that, and then we can do another bracket if you want.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
So Uncle Scrooge versus Ice Cream Bunny. I think I'm still going with Uncle Scrooge here.
Yeah, it's not much of a competition. I don't know how the Ice Cream Bunny made it this far. Now in the losers bracket, come on, Ice Cream Bunny would still take out Tom Sawyer.
I don't know if Tom Sawyer can have. If Tom Sawyer can handle
and eat him. Yeah.
I don't know. I think Tom Sawyer could just direct him in directions like, "Hey, Santa's over there," and Ice Cream Bunny would be kind of distracted.
I don't know. We'll see there. Okay. So we got Uncle Scrooge right now.
Yeah, we got. So
Uncle Scrooge and Jacquard are winners so far.
Yeah. So I think we need to have like
a three-way,
a three for all.
Okay, let's think here.
We haven't done a good super. I'm gonna say I'll say Zantana. Do you know who Zantana is?
Yeah, I know Zantana. Not well, but
she's a magician girl from DC.
I'll say Miracle Max.
Okay, I don't know Miracle Max.
From Princess Bride.
Okay.
You know who I'm talking about? He brings people back from the dead. Right. At least if they're mostly dead.
Right.
So they're all both magical, I guess.
Both got a magic thing. I think Santana's the more powerful of the two.
I think Miracle Max can talk a good game. I'm not sure he can do much else besides that.
No, I mean Zantana's worked alongside Batman. I think she was actually part of the Justice League at some point. Miracle Max is he's important for the movie, but in DC Universe he'd be like the Z-rate hero.
All right, I won't do much competition for that. I mean, he might stick like a billow into her face and try to take the life out of her.
Now, if it was Zantana versus
the six-fingered man,
or I was gonna go with My Name Is Inigo Montoya.
Oh yeah, well
that might have been a little closer, but Santana against Miracle Max, it's Santana.
All right, so let's see. I need to pick something completely out of everything else I've already done. Yoshi.
I would put
We really should both think of these first and then talk to and then say them.
Yoshi against Lance Valentino.
Oh, nice.
I'm pulling your own character against you.
I still think Yoshi, because Yoshi can pull off his helmet, then pull off his sword, poop him out, throw the egg at him. I mean, Yoshi's quick and spry. And Lance, would be decent against like some sort of big bear, a boar, possibly a slightly drunk dragon, but
he wouldn't really know what to expect from Yoshi.
No,
and Yoshi, not the weirdness of Yoshi, certainly.
Yeah. So I think Yoshi's got Lance Valentino in the bag there.
Okay, I'll give you that.
So we got Zantana versus Yoshi.
Yes,
that is. I've never spoken those words. Okay.
I doubt anyone has.
I'm not really sure how to process this one exactly. I really just want Yoshi to win.
Well, I feel Zantana has got to have come up against some weird alien-like creatures before.
But does magic work on Yoshi?
I don't see why not.
Wait, those little magic Koopa guys? They
would hurt. I mean, all Yoshi has to do is get touched by some weird thing, and then he goes running off in a panic.
Touch Fuzzy, get dizzy. You ever play Yoshi's Island?
No, just a little bit.
Oh, okay. Anyways,
I still think Zantana would win this.
Edge that. Yeah, well, we'll do Zantana. So we got Zantana, Jacquard, and Uncle Scrooge.
Yeah,
Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, Scrooge McDuck.
How do we even process that?
I'm not sure about this one.
Well, I mean, Scrooge McDuck's pretty good with his cane.
Yes. Not only can he swing it and hit people around with it, but he can kind of bounce around.
Bounce around on it, yeah.
And he's got the money factor, so it's possible that he might hire someone to go fight for him.
Well, I don't think we'd allow that. I think he has to fight himself.
He has to fight himself.
So yeah, in the final round, you got to fight.
Okay.
So I don't know what Zantana does exactly. What kind of?
Well, I'm not an expert. I don't know her. Like she says her spells backwards.
Okay.
Like for example, if she wants to like lift the car above her head, she'll be like raise car backwards. So it'll be like rock zar or something like that. Wow,
that's complicated.
So, but I don't know the full extent. I mean, I know she's powerful, but I couldn't tell you like the full comic booky scientific.
I feel like Jakar has a presence that might be overwhelm her ability to speak backwards. I don't know. I mean,
it's hard to say.
And the thing is, here's the thing with Jakar. He can take a beating.
He can take a beating.
He takes 39 lashes and has his eye gouged out, okay?
Yeah. And he can, like, break chains with his bare fists.
I mean,
apparently.
if he believes in the fight, he almost will win. Whether he believes in it, I don't know.
It depends on the circumstances of the death match.
Of the death match, yeah. I mean, if he feels like he needs to stay alive so he can kill Londo later on.
Well, again, is this pre or post? We never really...
It doesn't matter. He wants to kill Londo for good later.
I suppose that's true.
He wants to kill Londo one way or another. Okay, so...
If you haven't seen Babylon 5, you really should.
Yeah. I'm about ready to watch it again, I think. I don't know how to do it. So I think Scrooge McDuck would beat some people up. What?
This would have been easier if we'd given ourselves some villains in the main fight.
That's true.
We didn't really go for like hardly any villains.
We should have.
Except for maybe Lance Valentino.
Yeah. Who's kind of like half a villain.
Yeah. He's more an antagonist.
So who's our loser in this fight? I almost want Scrooge McDuck to just beat up Zantana, but... I don't know her very well, though.
Well, the trick is Scrooge always has to, like, outsmart his opponents to win most of the time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because, like, he does go up against, what's that, Magica Deduct, or Dispel. Magica Dispel is, the witch duck that he always has to fight. So, and she's pretty powerful, so he basically always has to outwit her somewhere.
So, could he use the same sort of thing against Zantana, who's basically the same sort of magic deal?
Possibly. I could see Scrooge McDuck maybe beating Zantana, but not Jakar.
I think Jakar's got to win again.
Unless Zantana manages to take out Jakar beforehand, which it's hard to see happening.
Yeah.
I think we got to crown Jakar the winner.
Yeah. Jakar is the winner.
Yeah. And again, if you haven't seen Babylon 5, you're probably like, "What? I never even heard of this guy. How can he beat these people?" But he's pretty awesome.
He's a one-armed man. Come on.
Yeah. In the Fugitive.
Yeah.
It was a very obscure reference.
Yeah, sorry. I only do obscure references. So, all right.
If you listen to this podcast long enough, you kind of know that our repertoire of references is somewhat limited.
Yeah.
Our pool of stuff.
Yeah. Although what we know well.
Yeah. Although we did manage to pull in, like Ingmar Bergman
and Ikaru
and Scrooge McDuck, and we tried to pull in some art here.
Okay. Yeah. We're pretty lowbrow here. No.
No, we're not as
lowbrow
as we could get.
No, but we're pretty popular.
Yes, we're very pop culture-y.
Yeah. Except we don't know Game of Thrones, so I don't know what's up with that.
Okay,
I have no desire at all actually to see it anymore. But that's me.
There's actually very few trending shows that, Lost is the one we keep talking about. That used to be trending like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I know. I'm out of like what's cool now, but oh well.
Yeah.
We'll come back around someday.
I still talk about Phineas and Ferb, and I guess Gravity Falls is kind of the new big cartoon show, which I would like to watch. Well, that and Adventure Time. I know our listener Greg really likes Adventure Time. With cartoons, I'm very, very picky. I've seen an episode or two of Adventure Time, and it's kind of neat, but it's got an art style that's just weird.
I should just pulled in some 12 Years as a Slave since I saw it and be all artsy with that too.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah. There's no real death, just a lot of suffering.
Yeah.
Lots of suffering.
I really like The Artist, the black and white Oscar winner from a few years ago.
We'll just start throwing in things that were like, once I watched 5 minutes of
The King's Speech is pretty cool.
I saw this like the short from Romania. It was filmed in black and white.
I did try back when I was in film school. I talked about Pickpocket by Dressen.
No, and the thing is, when I watch these things, I usually enjoy. I like talking about them, but I don't go out my way to see them normally.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm glad I have Brian.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, we should probably end this up. So, Tim, where do we find our show?
You can find us at derailedtrainsofthought.blogspot.com. Please leave us a comment and let us know about some other really popular show that we should be watching that you're ashamed of us that we are not.
Breaking Bad. That was old now too, but
yeah, I suppose so. It's over. But we do actually wanted to watch that one.
Yeah, we thought about it. We got that far. So, but instead we watched Sword Art Online. So that tells you our priorities. You can email us at derailedtrains@gmail.com. Find us on mixler.com / Derailed Trains of Thought.
I think that's right.
Yep.
And subscribe to us on iTunes.
iTunes is the best way to get a hold of us. I fixed the little sign thing, so we have pictures now.
Yep. Looks cool.
Looks cool. And that's it.
Yep. I'm thinking again about putting episodes up on YouTube, just because I know the platform pretty well now. So
I think we should. I think that... Why not?
So somewhere
can't hurt.
Somewhere in the near future, we'll probably do that, and you never know, it might bring in new traffic.
New traffic.
Yeah,
you are only traffic to us. You're not people.
We love you.
Whoever you are, traffic people.
All
right. Here we go. So Tim, let's before we sign out, how about you introduce our last soundtrack?
Okay. So, in keeping with tradition, Nick had a Final Fantasy...
In our niche interest.
Very niche. Nick had a Final Fantasy VII. I have a Final Fantasy VI song. But very appropriate, it's called Death on the Snowfield. It's a remix of the quintessential Final Fantasy VI song, Terra. This one is remixed by Am I Evil?
Who does a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, despite possibly being evil. He apparently doesn't know.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Mandos knows, and I think Mandos...
It's ready to come around and say that we do not belong here.
Yes, so we'll probably be kicked all the way back to Middle Earth here pretty soon.
All right.
So.
Well, it's better than other places we go.
This is very
Hopefully
true.
we just land somewhere in the Shire.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Anywhere else is kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
Like all wilderness in the Shire, so...
All right, so hopefully, folks, we'll see you next time.
Adios.
This has been Tim.
This has been Nick.
Bye-bye.
That's all we got.